Skilled trades and engineers remain the most difficult positions for companies to fill. That's according to the latest surveys on human capital. Experts say with unemployment in the country remaining high, it is surprising that employers continue to have difficulty filling these positions. According to the African Society for Talent Development, the vital need for skilled and talented workers in South Africa can be exemplified through the consistent shortage of high-skilled workers, amounting to approximately 829,000 high-skilled job vacancies. Well, to discuss this dilemma further, I'm joined now by Terry Meyer, an advisory board member of ASTD. Welcome, great to meet you today.
Thank you, pleasure to be here.
Perhaps if we can begin by expanding on this challenge facing South Africa, that is to develop and retain high-skilled workers.
Shinya, I think if we look globally, there are a number of trends that talk to this kind of statistic. More and more organizations are changing the way that they do business, which means that they have a lesser need for less skilled people and a greater need for more skilled people. So the whole question of jobless growth, for example, is a hugely important issue. Technology and automation is destroying many, many jobs. And it's really those who are at the top of the skills continuum that organizations are looking for. And globally, there's a general shortage of such people.
I'm glad that you've mentioned globally, because that is the reality. We've been talking about the brain drain in South Africa for around 20 years or so. The reality is, though, that as we become members of the global economy, labor turnover is higher.
Well, that's a very important point, because what we need to realize in South Africa is while organizations are competing for the top talent, countries are competing for the top talent as well. So in South Africa, we must make South Africa a place where top talent wants to be and wants to grow and has opportunities to grow.
Tell us about the role that your organization is playing.
Well, ASTD is the African Society for Training and Development, as you said. Our role really is it's a professional association. So those people who work for organizations in the talent field and learning and development field would typically be our members. And our role is to provide networking opportunities, thought leadership, research into certain areas, so that everybody can benefit from the collective knowledge of the profession.
So you've created this platform and you host the networking opportunity annually. How has that event grown in terms of the response coming through from other African countries?
Well, it's starting to grow, and certainly one of our strategic aims is to make it a much more Pan-African organization and much more inclusive for people from other countries as well. We have an annual conference, and what we're launching shortly on the 20th of July are leadership dialogue networks. So in specific areas such as people that are new to the organization, how to attract people, those kinds of things, we would provide networking opportunities, and we're going to launch those on the 20th.
So what's coming through from this brief discussion we've had thus far is that it's becoming a lot more competitive to attract and to retain high-skilled workers. What are some of the contributing factors in South Africa?
Look, those leading companies, and I've had the pleasure of visiting top global companies around the world and take people to visit them. The thing that distinguishes top companies globally and in South Africa is the quality of leadership. Good leadership attracts good people. Good leadership develops good people and gives them opportunities. And they create a culture in which people, with all the diversities that one finds in an organization, feel valued. And so leadership, for me, would be the critical distinguishing factor between really top companies and other companies.
So if we have 829,000 vacancies, that means we have a leadership issue as well.
We probably do have a leadership issue. And that's why if you look at the JSE and the top companies, you can distinguish quite quickly what are those really top companies that offer the kind of culture that really high potential people are attracted to.
Which country is leading right now when it comes to talent development, and why?
Countries.
Yeah, which country?
I think the last survey that I saw, it tends to be the UK and the US, and they recognize the importance of competing. You know, in the US, for example, as I say, cities are competing for talent because they recognize that where the talent is, business goes. Because they want business needs innovative people who are going to create new products and services and particularly new business models. So Silicon Valley traditionally has been a very good example of that, where you've got a cluster of very good businesses that attract the very best brains around the world. And
India is also being very competitive because research shows that they're actually going out to campuses and recruiting young graduates and grabbing them basically to get them into industry. We have a problem in South Africa. Unemployment is very high. 50% of the youth are unemployed, and most of them are sitting around with their graduates, sitting at home with their graduates and diplomas. Why is that?
That's a huge problem. It's an imbalance in our system, in our economic system, and also in our skills development system. What one must understand is that when companies are looking for really high potential people, you know, one must recognize that when somebody does a 4-year degree, for example, probably a lot of what they learnt in the first year is outdated by the time they graduate. When they get employed by a company, the job for which they were employed may disappear within the next 5 years, and new jobs will appear that nobody believed or knew that they would exist.
But why aren't they grabbing these young graduates, like in other emerging economies like India, for example?
No, I think they are. I think our companies look very closely at the universities, and they do graduate recruitment programs, and they take the best and they make them offers and they develop them appropriately. But you know, the thing is, a degree is not the most important factor. If we don't know what jobs people actually are being recruited for in the future because they're changing so fast, what we want is raw talent. So we want people who can learn and unlearn and relearn very quickly, and who can work in a very volatile, ambiguous, uncertain kind of environment. It's not just simply the content of their degree that's important. It's their ability to learn very, very quickly and to adapt to change, and in fact to lead people through change.
So if these positions cannot be filled, these 829 positions that you've highlighted, do you have to recruit outside of South Africa?
I think one should be a bit cautious about those kinds of statistics and really get to understand what they mean. But yes, at the end of the day, that's clearly what it would mean.
And that is, what are some of the challenges there?
Well, I think the challenges are to get people into the country who will contribute to the skills pool in the country, who will create employment, and to overcome some of the hurdles perhaps in terms of visas and work permits and residence permits. I think those are quite an issue still in this country. And we must perhaps move away from the notion that people coming from elsewhere are trying to steal jobs.
Yeah.
You know, rather bring them in and get the benefit of their talent in, as I say, increasing the talent pool.
I suppose the political environment does not help in attracting the talent that we need as well.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying. You know, we need to become talent friendly. And talent friendly has to do with removing barriers. It has to do with providing opportunities for people. And it has to do with having an economy and companies who are at the cutting edge of their field, because that's where the talented people want to be. They want to be breaking the boundaries. And we need to be able to offer that and understand that we are competing. So I think we need to look from the point of view of a country and say, what do we need to change or put into place to be highly competitive?
Because it is one thing to train the staff that's available, but it's another thing when you need a required set of skills for a specific job.
That's right. And, you know, some of these people have had the benefit of experience overseas, in different companies, in different environments. I think, you know, if you look at the top global companies, they don't just want people anymore from the US or Europe. They want people who've had exposure on a global basis. And they pay a great deal to expose people around the world. So I think that is a huge global trend.
Thank you so much.
It's a
for
pleasure.
Your time.